you guys. I thought I'd give you a little update on how my 2021 is going so far. It might make for a fun story time. Anyways, I'll start by sharing that King of Queen episode about Carrie and Doug. I'll tell you about this little episode so you get an idea of how my New Year's Eve started off. You know, the episode with Doug and Carrie, and they're in some kind of competition, and the last part of it is Doug calls Carrie at work from his cell phone as he's driving, and she's in the middle of an interview, and he crashes while talking to her on his cell phone, and she's at work in the middle of an interview, and she hears the whole crash on the cell phone, and she says, Doug, and there's dead, the phone goes dead. So I've mentioned, me and my daughter have laughed about that a handful of times, and I always mention to her, don't ever do that to me or to anybody for a joke, because that will really be too much for me. It would not be funny at all. Okay, bigger than beans. On New Year's Eve day, I happened to be talking to my sister. She's in the middle of doing a ton of errands, rushing all around, mind you, talking to me on her cell phone. So she keeps saying, I gotta go. We get all our stuff in that we need to say, and she's saying goodbye, she's hanging up, and I hear this horn. Like this horn was honking right into her cell phone. It was a long, someone just on their horn. And then the phone goes dead because she hung up. If you don't think I was sick to my stomach, and again, this was New Year's Eve day, I'm guessing around like 2-ish, because she wanted to be way done with New Year's Eve. She wanted to be in her house by like no later than 3 in the afternoon. I was sick. I happened to be talking to her in the kitchen, and I'm just standing there in the kitchen, sick. The sound of that horn, all I could visualize was she was talking to me, and she pulled out in the middle of an intersection, and the guy just laid on his horn. Anyway, I was so sick, I could barely move. So I end up texting to her saying, are you okay? With a bunch of question marks. I said, I'm so sorry for bothering you. I know you're busy, but right as we were hanging up, I heard this loud horn honking at you. And nothing. I don't get a phone call. I don't get a text for what to me felt like an eternity. So 10 minutes later, she calls me, and I remember not even saying like hello. I remember saying, are you okay? And she said, oh, I'm so sorry. I was getting out of the car, and I was turning myself to get out of the car, and my elbow was on the horn. I was pushing myself to get out of the driver's seat, and my elbow hit the horn because I have a lot of bags in my arm. I want to return some Christmas stuff. I was so sick. Um, if that ever happens again to us on the phone, you need to call me right away and tell me you're okay. He said, okay, I wasn't sure if you heard that or not. Okay. So I know you probably think it's like, what's the big deal? Trust me, it is a big deal. If you would ever hear that when you're on the phone with a loved one, you'd be sick. Okay, so that was the start of my New Year's Eve day. So, I go to get in the mail. My husband and I are planning we're going to have a fun New Year's Eve meal. I said, okay, you think of this. I had written down some ideas for supper. I'll go get the mail. And lately, every time I go get the mail, I start up my car because we haven't been driving it and I don't want the battery to die. Bigger than beans, dead. The battery goes dead on New Year's Eve. I'm frazzled. I do not like dead battery in case there's any kind of emergency. So I think this is not going to work, even if we call AAA now on New Year's Eve. Not going to work. I'll deal with it tomorrow. I was sick. It's just an uneasy feeling knowing that your car that's out in the driveway at the ready to head out can't head out. That if you need to get into a second vehicle, it's just not as easy and convenient. But it was very bothersome for me, but so I tried to let it go. Okay. So, you guessed it, at midnight, for about a good 30, 45 minutes, they started with fireworks in the neighborhood where, of course, there's no fireworks or firecrackers allowed. There's so many of them. They're so loud. Wakes me up. And all I can think is they're so close and there's so many. There's going to be a fire because, Southern California is famous for all their fires. There I am at the start of New Year's Day, sick to my stomach, thinking, these people, they're going on and on with all the firecrackers and the fireworks. There's going to be a fire, and our car that we keep at the ready, and for just such emergency as this, is dead. It's going to take forever to get out of here with vehicle number 2, backup vehicle. So I stayed awake till about 12:30 when no more fireworks, and I felt peaceful that there was no fire. So by 1 o'clock, I back to sleep. Okay, so New Year's Day comes, and I'm trying to feel better. Really focusing on what's going to try to be the new year. And of course, the news really wasn't that happy. You could kind of get an idea from the news that we need to buckle down because we're going to have more COVID cases coming up. Okay. So New Year's Day goes on, nice and calm and peaceful. We get ready for our nap later in the afternoon. We usually take like a power nap. That cracks me up, power nap. Around 2 or 3 in the afternoon each day. So my husband's asleep like that, and I start hearing the beeping from one of our fire alarms or smoke alarms. He's so asleep and he's so tired. I'm thinking I'm gonna be the good housewife and I'm gonna take care of this, and he won't even know what happened. So we have in the hall 1, 2, 3. There's like 5 smoke alarms in a nearby close vicinity, including the one in the hall. I can never figure out exactly which battery is dead. It took me 20 minutes to find the right smoke alarm that was dead. Number one. And then, when I did find it, it was so finicky. When you put the new battery in, if it didn't just lay perfect every time I put it back in the socket, put it in the ceiling, it came loose. And I can't tell you how many times I was trying to fix it. I must have gone up and down that chair 5 or 6 times, dropping the battery. Then I needed a phone. I forgot I was supposed to make a phone call at a certain time, and it got past the time. And I needed the light from my phone anyways. Make sure I was doing everything right. And it was just unsettling because it was so finicky with this battery. I thought, do we have a finicky device? Is it even going to work properly if there's really smoke? It really needs to detect smoke. So, took about an hour. That whole thing took about an hour. I was exhausted because let me tell you, I haven't climbed up and down a chair like that this whole year because we've been hibernating. I really haven't done any stair stepping. So I realized I lay down in bed thinking to myself, ooh, that was a workout. I no sooner put my head down, my husband wakes up. He says, oh, is it supper time yet? No. I was just feeling disgusted and down because I worked up a sweat. I never work up a sweat. Well, I can't say that anymore. Just going up and down that chair with all my little mishaps, and then standing up there, with your arms over your head and your neck bent all the way back. When I realized I started sweating, that's depressing. Anyways, so there's my Happy New Year to me, 2021. So that started on New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. Oh, and then the last thing, my husband, I totally forgot about this. He had a cough that just was, he couldn't get rid of it. So we called the doctor. He prescribed some of the antibiotic for cough because you don't want it settling in your chest. And he started taking that like New Year's Eve or New Year's Day. And he was just coughing, and in the back of my mind, I remembered it again yesterday. Last night when he had to take his pill, I thought to myself, oh my goodness, if we have to zoom out, if something happens and he really does get sick and we have to go to the emergency again, our zoom out car with a good battery isn't available. That's a hassle. And then what if one of us have to actually get admitted? That's a whole nother can of worms, because they might not admit you because all the hospitals here are overfloated or overflooded. What did I say? Overfloated? They're overcrowded. And they're not accepting people. Or if they are, they stick you in a triage tent outside. Disaster. So I just couldn't believe all these little things just all added up together to come upon me between New Year's Eve and between New Year's Day last night, like around 11. So here we are the day after New Year's Day, January 2nd. I'm just going to hope I get this uploaded on January 2nd so nothing else happens and I don't have to add any more story to my New Year's 2021 story time. Thanks.